Welcome to NetApp Certified Cloud and Data Storage Services Engineer Professional, NS0 700. My name is Andrew Luckhurst and I'll be co-presenting today with Patrick Ridden.
Hello, everybody.
The NetApp Certified Cloud and Data Storage Services Engineer Professional provides you with a digital badge, and that badge provides benefits which allows you to share them socially across social platforms. They are immediately verifiable and they are fraud proof. The NetApp certification program allows you to recertify at any point in time. A recertification adds 24 months to the expiration date of the recertified certification. If the recertification requirements are not completed on or before the certification's expiration date, the certification expires. Holders of a certifications must repeat the entire certification exam process to regain their certification. In these instances, earning a new or recertifying an existing NetApp specialist level certification recertifies the associate prerequisites certification. For example, if you are retaking the NCIE SAN ONTAP, NCIE Data Protection, or the NCSE ONTAP Specialist, they will recertify at the same time the Data Administrator ONTAP Professional, or in case of the Data Protection one, the Data Administrator ONTAP Professional, and in case of the ONTAP Specialist, the NCSE.
Let's take a look at the exam introduction and overview. Key facts about the exam. The NetApp Certified Cloud and Data Storage Services Engineer Professional. Now, can you retake the exam? Well, if you pass, you must wait 18 months before retaking the exam to ensure that a new version of the exam is available. If you fail the exam, you can retake the exam immediately. However, if you fail the exam twice, you must wait 2 weeks before retaking the exam. For certification details, see the following site at the NetApp certification site link. Now, the number of test questions we have will be 60. The time limit will be 90 minutes, and you'll have 120 minutes for candidates in non-English speaking countries. The passing score is 68%, and the prerequisites will be no suggested field experience specified. NCCSSE exam concepts. The first thing we're going to do is take a look at the fundamentals. We'll go ahead and take a look at and identify network concepts. We'll identify components of cloud data services. We'll identify IAM concepts. And finally, we'll identify documentation and tools. Then we'll move on to NetApp Cloud Solutions. Here we'll take a look at cloud management tools and NetApp Cloud Storage. Let's take a look at some of the objectives that the exam will cover. You'll be required to show that you can deploy and configure NetApp Cloud products and services. We'll talk about the consumption of model options for NetApp hybrid cloud solutions. You'll demonstrate the ability to deploy using infrastructure as code tools. We'll talk a little bit about NetApp Cloud Data Protection, and also you'll demonstrate the ability to monitor cloud storage solutions. The NCCSSE purpose is to ensure that candidates have skills to deploy, configure, and administer the NetApp Cloud Storage and Data Services solutions. Now, the target audience will be solutions engineer, pre-sales, enterprise architect, and cloud architect. Technical content areas: infrastructure, data storage software, and NetApp Data Fabric solutions. Now, some of the concepts will be cloud implementation, storage, automation, monitoring components in NetApp Cloud Solutions, describe tools used to troubleshoot cloud storage, troubleshoot deployments of NetApp Cloud Data Services. And finally, identify and use BlueXP Data Services.
Tips and tricks. So general tips and strategies, part 1. Questions themselves are multiple choice. So please read each question carefully. Accept the questions at face value. Try to supply your own answer before reading the options that are provided. Read and consider all the options before selecting your answer. Do not change your answer unless you are sure that it is wrong. Answer the question in your mind first. Eliminate those wrong answers. Select the best answer or answers. Narrow your choices. Rule out options that are unfamiliar to you. Eliminate options that contain exact or absolute words, such as always, every, or never. Be alert for grammatical inconsistencies between the question and the answer options. Don't spend too much time on one question. If you think that you can find the correct answer later, mark the question and return to it towards the end of the exam. Eliminate the options that stand out, such as those that are too long or too short.
Ready, set, go. Question number 1. For NetApp Cloud Insights, which 3 Microsoft Windows operating systems are supported as acquisition units, AUs? Choose 3. The key word here is Microsoft Windows operating systems. And the answers are B, Microsoft Windows 2012, D, Microsoft Windows Server 2016, and E, Microsoft Windows Server 2019.
Question 2. What are 2 valid destinations for NetApp BlueXP Backup and Recovery, formerly Cloud Backup? Choose 2. The answers are B, Amazon S3, and D, Storage Grid Solution.
Question number 3. What are 2 supported sources for NetApp BlueXP tiering, formerly Cloud tiering? Choose 2. The correct answers are B, Metro Cluster IP, and C, SnapLock Enterprise.
Question 4. A custom is preparing to deploy a new instance of NetApp Cloud Volumes ONTAP to migrate data from an existing on-premise NetApp ONTAP software installation. The customer wants to generate as-built documentation for the on-premise systems from the latest auto-support data through Windows PowerShell. Which tool should be used? The answer is D, NetApp Docs.
Question number 5. A storage administrator needs to move retired Windows group shares from a third-party NAS storage array to a new instance of NetApp Cloud Volumes ONTAP and retain them for historical purposes. Which methodology accomplishes this task? And the correct answer is C, deploy NetApp BlueXP Copy and Sync, formerly Cloud Sync, and set up a synchronous relationship to migrate the data within the shares.
Question 6. A customer needs to create data protection and replication relationships through NetApp BlueXP, formerly Cloud Manager. What is a supported target for NetApp Cloud Volumes ONTAP instances. Think about the supported target. It's the key element. The answer is D, on-premise NetApp ONTAP cluster.
Question number 7. A storage administrator wants to move existing user shares from third-party on-premises storage to NetApp Cloud Volumes ONTAP and use tiering. A new Cloud Volumes ONTAP volume is created with the tiering policy set to auto and the default cooling period. A file-based migration job is created to move the data from the current storage to the new Cloud Volumes ONTAP instance. What is the expected tiering behavior as the migration tool writes the data? And the correct answer is B. Data that is written by the migration tool is considered hot until the cooling period is reached.
Question 8. A storage engineer is working with a client who requires data replication technology for disaster recovery purposes. Which NetApp data movement technology should the storage engineer recommend? The answer is D, SnapMirror.
Question number 9. A hybrid cloud storage administrator needs to present data replication options that can provide a recovery time objective of near zero for the company's disaster recovery plan. Which two NetApp products can the storage administrator use to provide an RTO of near zero for data replication? Choose two. A couple of the key words here are an RTO of near zero for data replication. And the correct answers are B, Metro Cluster Software, and C, SnapMirror Active Sync, formerly SMBC, SnapMirror Business Continuity.
Question 10. An administrator is working with a client who has cold data that needs to be offloaded to lower cost disk. Which technology meets this requirement? The answer is A, Fabric Pool.
Question number 11. A storage administrator needs to set up a NetApp ONTAP-based cluster in IBM Cloud. The cloud environment uses VMware ESXi for the hypervisor. The ESXi hosts connect to SSD storage. Which NetApp tool is necessary to set up the virtual ONTAP-based storage cluster? C is the correct answer. ONTAP Select Deploy.
Question 12. A storage administrator needs to add on-premise ONTAP clusters to NetApp BlueXP. A VPN connection is established between the on-premise ONTAP cluster and the cloud provider. The administrator cannot add the on-premise ONTAP cluster to BlueXP because a port is not open. Which port is necessary to add on-premise ONTAP clusters to BlueXP? The answer is C, which is port 443.
Question number 13. The support contract of a customer's existing tape backup is ending. The customer wants to back up an existing on-premises NetApp ONTAP NAS workload to AWS. The customer also needs to make sure that a file can be restored by the file name only. Which NetApp BlueXP Cloud Backup Service feature meets these requirements? A couple of the keywords here are restored by file name only. And the correct answer is B, search and restore.
Question 14. A company decides to use NetApp BlueXP Copy and Sync, formerly Cloud Sync, to migrate data from on-premise to an Amazon Simple Storage Service, Amazon S3 bucket. The company will use a Linux on-premise host to deploy the data broker. During installation, the administrator obtains the Amazon Web Services AWS access keys for the Amazon S3 bucket. Which additional AWS service is required as part of the deployment? The answer is D, Amazon Simple Queue Service, otherwise known as Amazon SQS.
Question number 15. A customer is deploying both NetApp BlueXP tiering and BlueXP backup and recovery in their hybrid cloud environment. The environment consists of both AFF and fast clusters and includes AWS Direct Connect. Which component enables tiering and backup between the data center and the public cloud? And the correct answer is connector.
Question 16. A company is migrating several development and production databases from on-premise to the public cloud. An administrator needs to provision multiple iSCSI LUNs from several NetApp Cloud Volumes ONTAP instances to several SQL hosts. Which NetApp solution enables the administrator to create multiple LUNs and provision them to the SQL host from a centralized interface? The answer is A, BlueXP, formerly Cloud Manager.
Question number 17. An administrator successfully configures NetApp BlueXP tiering for an on-premises system to the cloud with the cold user data and snapshots tiering policy. To free space, management wants to change the default cooling period to the minimum number of cooling days allowed. What is the minimum number of cooling days that the administrator must set? And the answer is B, 2, which is the minimum number of cooling days that you can set.
Question 18. An administrator has an urgent requirement for a new NetApp ONTAP instance as a replication destination that must be deployed on-premise. The administrator decides to select a software solution for deployment speed. Which two NetApp offerings are supported? Choose two. Okay, the answers are A, Cloud Volumes ONTAP using AWS Outposts, and D, ONTAP Select on VMware ESXi.
Question number 19. A small business has an on-premises 2-node cluster with a storage virtual machine that contains 25 volumes and 200 data shares. The business must ensure data availability if there is a natural disaster, minimize downtime, and protect all data on the cluster without the need to manage multiple relationships. Also, the business must avoid the need to make user access configuration changes in multiple places, such as local users and groups, SMB shares, and access control lists and export policies. Which NetApp solution meets these requirements? And the correct answer is C. ONTAP CLI to set up an SVM DR relationship to a Cloud Volumes ONTAP instance.
Question 20. A storage administrator needs to deploy a storage solution that is fast and tolerant of node reboots that are required for maintenance purposes for a DevOps team in Microsoft Azure. The input for the data must be natively replicated daily from an existing on-premise NetApp ONTAP-based storage system. What should the administrator select? The answer is D, NetApp Cloud Volumes ONTAP High Availability HA pair.
Question 21. When you tear from an AFF system that uses SAN protocols to an object tear, which configuration is the best practice? The correct answer is D, storage grid solution.
Question 22. An administrator is using NetApp Astral Control to back up the on-premise Kubernetes applications. For compliance reasons, backup data should be retained as a designated disaster recovery site instead of in the cloud. What are two valid NetApp on-premise backup targets for this scenario? The answers are B, ONTAP Software S3, and D, Storage Grid Object-Based Storage Solution.
Question number 23. A customer has an environment of several NetApp ONTAP-based storage systems. The customer wants to regularly update the systems with the correct networking and storage efficiency settings. What is the advantage of using Ansible for this purpose? The correct answer is A, reverts only changes since the last time that the playbook was run.
Question 24. Which NetApp tool gives an administrator visual insight into the replications between NetApp ONTAP instances on-premise and in hyperscaler clouds? The answer is B, BlueXP, which was formerly known as Cloud Manager.
Question number 25. A customer is using a VMware environment on premises and wants to migrate a set of workloads to Microsoft Azure. They want to monitor their current and future environment. They also want to right-size the virtual machines in their on-premises infrastructure to prevent high costs when they migrate the VMs to Azure. Which NetApp product is the best choice for this customer? A couple keywords here will be, monitoring their current and future environment and being able to right-size their virtual machines. And the correct answer is Cloud Insights.
Question 26. An administrator is using NetApp Cloud Insights to monitor the environment, which consists of NetApp Cloud Volumes ONTAP and VMware vSphere. The administrator decides to add the storage grid object-based storage solution. What should the administrator do next? The answer is C, deploy a new data collector.
Question number 27. A company decides to transition many of their on-premises NetApp ONTAP volumes to the cloud. They provision a NetApp Cloud Volumes ONTAP environment and want to use a tool to actively monitor the usage and throughput for the data volumes in both environments. Which NetApp tool meets this requirement? And the correct answer is C, Cloud Insights.
Question 28. After an on-premise outage, clients are served from the Azure CVO HA environment. The administrator needs to re-establish the original disaster recovery relationship and resume serving client data. Which SnapMare operation should the administrator perform last? The answer is C, reverse resync. That concludes the certification prep session. Good luck on your certification exam. If you'd like to provide feedback about any of the NetApp certifications, please send an email message to ncp@netapp.com. There are